Welcome to My Writer's Room. I'm BT Higgins. Welcome to Lesson 5.4. Today we're going to learn how to, or begin to learn how to, be wordsmiths. Now, what is a wordsmith? A wordsmith is someone who's skilled at using words, a skilled user of words. It's simply a way of saying someone who does a good job choosing which words to use. Because obviously there's a lot of words you can choose. I feel like I've discussed this. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of choices and thousands of combinations. I should say millions of combinations and billions of combinations. It's so many that it can be overwhelming. And so you have to be able to select the right words at the right sentences to get the effect you're looking for. Now, poets are very good at this because they don't have very many words to use. They've got to choose good words and good combinations of words to have the effect that they're looking for. And sometimes that's an emotional effect. And sometimes maybe with something other than poems, it's just the effect you want is to be clear about what's going on. It's very easy to put a lot of words on the page, but have them be confusing, where the reader is like, okay, wait, who said what? What's happening? Oh, I got to go back. I don't even understand this. That would be a problem. So we're going to do a series of these lessons about being a wordsmith and different ways to choose good words and kind of things to practice and all of that kind of stuff. But it'll be a series because this is a huge thing you need to be working on. And don't worry, it's not like working on a separate thing. This is just as you write, you're choosing words. And as you look to write better, you're choosing to be a better wordsmith just by practicing. So this isn't an extra thing. This is just another aspect of what you're already doing, okay? So we're going to do lots of little mini lessons about this over time. So this will be a series about being a wordsmith. I really want you to think of it like that. Well, what's a blacksmith? A blacksmith is someone who makes things out of metal, right? Silversmith is someone who makes things out of silver. In fact, the name smith comes from the olden days where your name came from what your occupation was. And so it's kind of wordsmith is simply someone who makes things out of words. It's another name for a writer, I suppose. But it's important. So when a couple of basic things for our introductory lesson on being a wordsmith is you've got a lot of resources on choosing your words. Sometimes the first word that comes into your head is perfect. Sometimes it's not. And when it's not, sometimes you can, just slide in a better one later. Not at first, not when you're first drafting, but when you're in the revising stage later, or maybe the editing, but usually the revising stage is where you'll do this kind of changing. And so you'll use resources like a thesaurus. A thesaurus gives you lots of different options of different words for exciting, different words for slow, different words for whatever. And just having a resource that can kind of give you a bunch of options helps, because it's hard to bring the different words to mind sometimes. Like with the word slow, if I'm have to pull up other options out of my head, my brain has to process it. I have to figure out slow, and then I get stuck on slow and I can't figure out what's another word for slow. Well, having a thesaurus means you don't have to do that process of thinking. You just open up the book, or in modern times, I just simply ask the computer what's another word for slow, and it gives me 15. Most of them aren't going to be the right one for your story, but probably one of them will be. And you just wordsmithed a little. You just made your boring word a little bit better. Gave it a little more impact, maybe. A little more interest. Now, of course, you don't want to make every word complicated. If there's a simple way to say something and a complicated way to say something, you don't always want to be complicated. That's not the point of being a wordsmith. In fact, the point of being a wordsmith is to make it as clear and interesting as possible, not extra flowery, extra complicated, and extra poetic, unless that's, meeting your needs. All right, another thing that you can use, obviously, to learn new words is dictionary, and dictionary apps and words of the day type things are often fun, so that you can have more words in your mind to use. If you only know 5,000 words, like a little 4-year-old, I think it was, knows, you can only say so many things. But if your vocabulary is 20, 30,000 or maybe more, if you actually actively try to learn new words, you have lots of words that you could possibly use in your stories. And that's really one characteristic of being a wordsmith, is someone who loves learning new words and finding good ways to use them. You're going to want to know antonyms and synonyms, the words that mean the same thing, but also words that mean the opposite thing. And so those are other things you're going to want to look up. How do you choose good words? Well, I got a little piece from Mary at theartofstoryproject.com, and I'm just going to read a little quote from one of her articles. A great storyteller is a wordsmith. A wordsmith is always shaping words for the greatest effect. That's important there. Shaping words for the greatest effect. A storyteller chooses words for peak effect, crafts word pictures, and plans her words. A storyteller uses the techniques of good writing. Contrary to common belief, great communication is not about fancy language and big words. So, end quote. So why am I having you go and learning all these new words? Well, I want you to know a lot of words so you have choice. Lots of choices on things to use. But when you're actually writing, you want it to have a good effect. You want it to be clear. You don't want it to be overly flowery, unless one of your characters maybe talks like that. You just want it to be clear and have a good effect. And so it's not about just making it sound more, grown up, not making it sound just old. Old writing is more flowery just because they knew more words back then. So it's good for us to have a bigger vocabulary just so we understand that stuff. But when we're writing, we want to make it the most clear possible for the age group that we're writing for. We don't want them to struggle on every word. Every once in a while, we'll put in a word that's a little bit out of their reach, but they can understand it based on the context of the story, and then they learned a new word. See, this is what a wordsmith does. Makes the choice to make it more clear, to craft the word picture so that the reader can really see it because of the way they described it. And that gives a really good effect that turns just words into a magical sort of effective story, that it lights it up in their mind. Okay? And a lot of times, just so you know, a lot of times making your sentence better means making it shorter. When I'm revising, a lot of times I'll have, a whole paragraph, but all I really needed to communicate that idea was one sentence. And so I'll be chopping things out and throwing things away. The first time they came out, they were long-winded and not clear. So I chop them down to their basic essence so that my reader can understand the idea with the least amount of work. Being a wordsmith is all about that. And that's what I want you to be practicing as you're learning how to craft your stories. All right, talk to you next time.